Coming to the end of the year, and that means it's time to look back and reflect on some of the decks that I've ridden in 2021 and choose my skateboard of the year. This year I've ridden 10 decks and I'm on the 11th at the moment, but we're going to leave that one out at the moment. I'm just going to do a quick review / memory and summary of each deck quickly as I pull them away or pull them out from my pile right here, and touch base, maybe give them a rating of some description of, like, I don't know, something out of 10, and just like whether if I'd skate it again, if it was on special, and just whether if I go out and pay full price for it, and maybe it's the deck that my forever deck. So let's not waste any time. This is going to be in random order, just how I'm going to pick them up out of my deck. And the first one I'm going to start on with is the Darkroom here. So this Darkroom is I think the only deck that I've snapped this year, from memory. It was a quite nice shaped deck. I really enjoyed the skating. It was nice solid pop, like everything felt really good on it, but I just landed nose heavy once, little too much, and it snapped, and that was only off like say a foot high ledge, so that's a bit disappointing. But the Darkroom deck, sick graphics. It's the old Alien Workshop designer. It's like, it was pretty solidly built, like as you can see, if you can see there in the end, in the tail, there was so much life in it. It only lasted me 2 weeks, but those 2 weeks were a good 2 weeks on this deck, and like I would skate one of these again if they're on that special. So it ranges in that between that 5 to 6 out of 10. Next cab off the rank is the GX1000. It's a little overexposed, but yeah, this deck, like, I sort of had a love-hate relationship with this one, because the first 2 weeks on it was really amazing. It's PS6 wood. Like, the shape is like that hockey FA shape. It's nice and full, so I was really excited about that. And like I said, the first 2 weeks was amazing, but then it sogged out really quick. Like, it went dead. It went dead and soggy. I sort of lost my train of thought then. As usual, dog over there distracted me trying to climb a fence. But this, actually, I kept grinding on it. It ended up chipping out the corners a bit as well. This deck got thrashed. Surprisingly, it's still together. It's a good deck. It's one of those decks, again, is like I would probably only ride really if it was on special. It's that mid-range deck. I'd probably give this one probably like that 6.5, 7 out of 10, because I did enjoy it. I enjoyed the shape. It was just a bit disappointing about the sogginess of the PS6, and that's why I went and actually got a Weekend, which is another PS6, and we'll get to that one eventually in a minute as well. This deck I hadn't actually reviewed or anything, and it's going to be really overexposed on the camera, and that is the April Shane O'Neill model. I was like, last year when the April launched, because big Shane O'Neill fan, super keen to get an April deck. Everything looked good on the paper. At that stage, I was wanting the short wheelbase. A lot of Aprils have a 14-inch wheelbase for 8.25. The shape is pretty standard, pretty stock standard for like a popsicle. But the thing is, like, the deck, I just could never get it working. It's like, there's just something about it, and I've, like a few other people I've mentioned this to, who's also ridden Aprils, have sort of found this as well. It's just like the wheelbase, to the steepness of the kick, to how short the tail is as well. It just makes it very hard, like maybe for someone like me, just to get used to it. A short tail, a steeper kick, short wheelbase, I don't know. It's just like the whole measurements on this deck just didn't quite work for me personally. At the moment, I wouldn't skate another April again. I didn't really have a good time. I tried 3 different trucks on this. I'd give this like a 4 out of 10 really. Like, as you can see there, you can see in the tail, there is a lot of life still left in this deck. 2021 brought me like a different perspective on some things, and so came with this deck, the Welcome deck. I tried a shape deck because one, it was on special, and I thought, hey, why not? Why not really? It's a shape deck. For a shape deck, it's a pretty nice shape. I did enjoy it just straight out the bat, but as time went on that little bit, I don't know, I found that also it started to get a little bit soggy, and I don't know, I ended up not enjoying it. Then I snapped my thunders on it, so I had to take trucks off it, and then I ended up just setting up a new deck. So maybe I didn't quite give it its full life that it deserved. but towards the end of skating this, I was getting quite frustrated on this deck. So I suppose the thunders snapping on this deck was sort of like a blessing in disguise, I guess. So I know I probably wouldn't skate a Welcome again. If I actually if I put my skating on this aside, it was a pretty solid deck. Like I said, probably 2 to 3 weeks. I did feel like it was getting this that little bit of sogginess, and the wood is starting to change. But that's just a personal thing. That can happen to any deck and anyone as well. So I don't know, this is just a mid-tier. This is probably just for me, just a 5 out of 10 type thing. On to one of the more recent decks that I've actually skated. Actually, the most recent deck is the Alien Workshop. I remember Alien Workshop as a kid. Graphics are sick. Just the OG, Alien Workshop's been around forever. But you also hear about their decks just haven't been really getting the good feedback in the late 2000s, and but they're back with a good team, and they're back with a great range of graphics as well. Another main reason why I actually picked up an Alien Workshop is because I heard that the shape is really full, and that is true. It's got that nice full shape that I've been really enjoying and searching for in decks as well. It's made with BBS, so it's a really solid wood company as well. I really enjoyed my time on this. My full review is I'll leave it up here or there. I never remember that. But to boil it down, I really enjoyed it. The quality of the wood is great. The quality of the deck is good as well. This one is probably up there with one of my favorite decks of the year so far. So I'd rate this that 8.5 out of 10, and I'll definitely ride another Alien Workshop. Sort of what started me on this whole journey of fuller shapes was one day walking into a skate shop and picking up a hockey. So this hockey, I've always been interested. You hear a lot of people talk about FA and hockeys. I picked one up and I'm oh, it's really, really full. I might enjoy that. The only thing I was really a little worried about was the steepness of the kicks, because the kicks are a little bit quite steep, especially the nose. But once you get sort of used to it and stuff like that, the hockey is a really nice deck if you do that full size. It takes quite a bit of beatering. It has chipped out towards the nose and the tail as well, but that's probably 2 months it took to get to that point. It's a really solid deck. I reckon the 8.25 feels a little bit wider than 8.25, but that could be just the flatness of the concave. I'm not sure there, but it's really nice, enjoyable deck. This is the deck that started me on the full nose, full shape, expedition of decks, and really, I'll skate one of these again, definitely, if I could find one on special, because these, $150 to $180 AUD, is a really kick in the pants, especially for something that generally will only last me a month to, or 4 to 6 weeks, really. So I really want to try and get these on special when you can. I'd rate this probably that 8 out of 10. Like I said, I'd buy it, but I probably wouldn't pay full price for it. So it is a really nice deck though. Speaking of first, this was the first deck of 2021, and this was the girl, the Sean Malto girl. I actually picked this one up for myself for Christmas in 2020. Set this up in January. So, at start, I really struggled on this deck because this was my first deck that had 14-inch wheelbase. I really struggled, but once I got used to it, anything, because if you're changing from a 14 to a quarter to a 14-inch or a quarter of an inch wheelbase change can really affect the way you skate, especially depends on what type of trucks you have as well. So just keep that in mind when changing up and down all your type of sizes like that. But after getting used to this deck, it's a really nice deck. Girl decks, and especially the Sean Malto, this is the GO52 shape, is really mellow. He personally designed the deck to be really mellow because he had ankle injury, a really significant ankle injury, so he designed it so he could flick well with his switch foot with his ankle injury. This deck also copped a beating. I skated this for a while. It's quite worn down around the tail and stuff. There is a lot of pressure cracks in this deck though, these are big pressure cracks. Though that hasn't really affected the performance, or that I remember anyway, and it definitely didn't snap as well. So overall, this deck was a really solid deck. I did enjoy it. I'd give this deck probably that 6.5 out of 10. I probably wouldn't pick up a girl again unless because honestly at the moment I'm in that full nose shape. Though looking at it now, it is pretty full. Though the 14-inch wheelbase could give me a little bit of a worry. but riding those new Ventures, now I think about it, the Ventures might work really nicely on a girl deck. So I might have to pick one up in 2022 and see how we go with that. And the last deck that I have actually on me, because there's actually, I think it'll be one or two decks, there'll be at least two decks that I don't have sitting right here that I'll quickly chat about as well that I skated this year. But the one that is sitting here is the Weekend. Like some of these, like especially the GX1000, the Weekend, I knew nothing about them, I knew nothing about their crew. I just pretty much went off the board and the board shape. And again, this is a PS Sticks wood. I was quite worried about this one because I skated this after the GX1000, and with the GX1000 it sogged out, but I really enjoyed the shape and enjoyed the way it skated. This is pretty much identical to it. It's got a really full shape, full nose, all that type of jazz. It's 14 1/4 wheelbase. Overall, it's really mellow. The tail, I'm not sure if you can see that there. The tail is really mellow, so that is something that really worked well. Overall, this deck is solid. It didn't really pressure crack, even though it looked like it had a massive crack through the deck before even starting. The graphics are pretty sick on it as well, but like I mentioned, everything I enjoyed about this deck pretty much. So that leading me to the rating of the deck is like probably like, I'd almost give it a 9 out of 10 really. I really enjoyed this deck. Like, I think this is one of the longest decks I've skated. Absolutely thrashed the tail there. Everywhere has like been used nicely to my ability of skating anyway, but like I mentioned, highly rate this deck, highly rate the Weekend. So one of the two other decks that I skated that's currently not right here is a reel deck. To remember, the reel was a little bit pointier. It was an 8.12 as well, so I did enjoy that deck a little bit. It took quite a while to get used to. I probably wouldn't skate down to that smaller size at the moment as well too, but the reel decks are pretty solid. Like, they're well built. Like the construction of the wood and like from the wood shop, really solid decks for reel. I would probably skate a reel again if I could get like a really full shape there. Reel do have full nose decks as well, but trying to find the right wheelbase and the width, because they have a lot of different options. So that's quite a positive if you want to try a reel. There's like it's quite a range to try and jump into. But I'll probably rate it at the middle of the range again. Probably 6.5, 6 out of 10. Like, my ratings aren't much. I did enjoy this. I did enjoy it. It took a little bit of getting used to. Wouldn't rush out to skate one again. And this comes to probably like the worst deck I've actually skated in 2021, and that is the Zero. I hated that pretty much, to be honest. Like, if you watch my full review on it, you can sort of see why. Like, the shape's not bad, but like, I don't know, maybe it's because I got a bad quality Zero, so. But like it's hard to rush out and go buy another one, especially for $130. But the quality of the wood wasn't good. Like I just didn't enjoy it. Like, yeah, especially the quality of the wood. The sound was off. Like, the pop was off. Everything about it. Like, the measurements were off. Like, I went to the effort of measuring it as well. It's just like, I didn't enjoy that. Zero said it was COVID wood. A lot of people are like saying that's BS, but I stand by what I say, and you either will believe me or you don't. So yeah, a Zero is in that, like, I'll probably never skate one again because of that experience, and especially my feedback and experience with Zero's social media team and feedback as well. So anyway, it is what it is. And now it's time to decide my skateboard of the year, and looking back over it, I reckon it's actually pretty much a tie. It's between the Alien Workshop and the Weekend. Both of them are really nice decks, both of them are full decks, funnily enough. So this year I started on that, looking for that shorter wheelbase deck, and now towards the end of the year I'm looking for that fuller nose deck. But funnily enough, that the polar that I'm currently skating is sort of a mix between the both. It's a fullish nose, and it's actually a 14.125 wheelbase, so could this be my Goldilocks deck really? Both those decks treated me really well. I couldn't fault either of them really. The quality of both of them were pretty good, even though like the Weekend is PS Sticks wood. That is quite good. So I'm keen to try the Quasi that I've got is also PS Sticks, and I'll see the difference out of 3 different decks from PS Sticks, and see if the first one I got from GX1000 was just a dud. But I also heard a lot of other people have the same issue with PS Sticks. But guys, what has your skateboard of the year been? Make sure to let me know in the comments below. And if you like this video, make sure to hit like, all that type of jazz again. I hope you guys have a great Christmas and all that. Have a safe one, and I'll see you guys in a new video soon. Peace.